Hello and welcome back. I want to let you all know you did a good job with the questions about subgenre. Right, it's a very complicated concept to think of genres as fluid, and you did a great job of looking at that last section and seeing how those subgenres or those stories might fit in different subgenres based on how we look at those specific details in the story. I also enjoyed reading your comparisons between Elvis Bearpaw's Luck and Mary Margaret Roadgrader. If I were to categorize this type of fiction, I would say that there are strong elements of dystopia in both of these short stories. And if you want to read a little bit more about dystopian science fiction, I put a link on the link tab. Very simply put, dystopias are fictional societies where something is horribly wrong. As opposed to utopias where everything is good and functioning perfectly. The best example of dystopia, at least the most popular right now, I would say, is the Hunger Games, right? So this is so these fit in that genre of dystopia with the Hunger Games. The dystopia is important to my specific reading of Elvis Bearpaw's Luck, because even though we see at the very end that something is horribly wrong in this society, I think we get implicit clues and earlier on. Now, it's interesting that he chose to have everybody die off except those without except for those with native blood. And I think in that he's making particularly a political claim using political satire, right? So in this society which is not colonized anymore, I would argue, Sanders shows that there are still issues and problems, right? The problems do not go away because the colonizer has gone away. And I want to point to a specific passage where the grandson is talking to his grandfather about lighter-skinned Cherokees, right? That there are a lot of lighter-skinned Cherokees, and there are lighter-skinned other tribes. And to me, this is very interesting, being a light-skinned Cherokee myself. What disturbed me was that the grandson said he had never seen a black person or never seen a black Indian, which doesn't make sense to the premise of the story if everyone, even those with the smallest amount of native blood, was able to survive the virus. So my reading of that is that Sanders is critiquing the racism that is against black people, or phenotypically black people who are also Cherokee, that is inherent in the Cherokee Nation in the early 90s, and I would argue still is. One historical problem to look at is the issue of the Cherokee freedmen. Now, the Cherokees, like many of the other 5 tribes, owned slaves. Not all Cherokees, right? But the richer kind of mixed blood progressive Cherokees owned slaves at the time as a way to kind of mimic what they saw the colonists doing. And the descendants, so there was intermarriage between slaves and Cherokees, and so there are, or just free black people in Cherokees, and so there are phenotypically black Cherokees. A separate issue is the descendants of the slaves owned by the Cherokee, who may or may not have Cherokee blood, but they're referred to as the freedmen. In through the 90s and even still today, the lawsuit is going on. The Cherokee Nation has tried to kick the freedmen off the Cherokee rolls, right? Because they say they don't have Cherokee blood. But what is interesting here, and I think Sanders is weighing in on the debate, is he's saying that there is racism, racial prejudice in the Cherokee Nation. Now, I looked at to kind of provide evidence of this. I've done some research in the Sequoia National Research Center, and I found the Cherokee Observer in early 1993. There was a big op-ed piece by the editor about the problem of kicking out Cherokee freedmen, about this being a very this being an atrocity and a big problem within the Cherokee Nation. So I don't know that Sanders read that op-ed in particular, but I know that this was something that was discussed at the time. So my particular reading of the dystopian elements of Elvis Bear Paws Luck brings in some of this this very implicit point that even though the Cherokee Nation has rid itself of the colonizer, racism still exists in this dystopian future. Sanders, we've read When This World's All on Fire, now Elvis Bear Paws Luck. Sanders is a very interesting figure to me. I might be a little biased because he is Cherokee. He's from Tahlequah, which is in northeast Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. I don't think he has really gotten the attention that he deserves. He has been mentioned in a Cherokee history. He's been mentioned in a couple of books on Native theory, but very briefly. He's been nominated for the Nebula, Hugo, and Campbell Awards, and he has won 2 Sideways Awards for alternate history, one of them for Empire, and the other one for what we're going to read for next time, The Undiscovered. But he's been around for a while and is a very interesting character. If you want to check him out further, I put a link on the link tab for his personal website, and I think he has some interviews on there and some of his own musings, and I think that the same type of humor that he has in his short stories comes through on the site, in his interviews and such. So feel free to check that out. What we're going to be looking at for next time, we're going to go back to the discussion board posts. We're going to look. We're going to take read 2 of his short stories. One of them is The Undiscovered, which is what he's most famous for, and the other one is Dry Bones, which he believes is his best short story. So I want to open it up a bit and let you do a specific reading, kind of like I picked out a very tiny element that might need to be explained in Elvis Bear Paws Luck. I want you to pick specific detail in one of these short stories, and then I want you to give me a substantial post. Explain what's going on. Why is that detail important to the rest of the story? And make sure to either paraphrase that detail or quote it directly. And then, just like we do with every discussion board post, make sure to respond to 2 other of your colleagues so we can get this discussion, a very rich discussion going on about these short stories. Feel free, if it's helpful in your post, to refer back to anything we've done so far, right? You should have a good grasp about the large genre of indigenous science fiction, as well as many different types of subgenres that could be seen. All right. Well, again, great job on your Dropbox posts. Make sure to post the discussion board posts on Wednesday, along with responding to 2 other posts by other students, by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. I will see you all next time.